Rob, only you could cheat for 10 years without Sarah finding out. Share your secrets with us? What other way is there? Just make sure you act completely devoted to the family every day, like you're exhausted from putting everything into it. She'll never suspect you. On the computer screen my husband hadn't closed in time, messages from a group called the Cheating Club kept flashing. Besides Rob, the chairman has the longest record of not getting caught, right? I looked at the screen, my eyes filled with sarcasm. My husband's method was indeed ingenious. But he didn't know he wasn't the only one in this house wearing a disguise. Sarah, this month's paycheck is all here. Last week, didn't you say you liked a bag/handbag? Sun is getting bigger too, you should buy it if you like it. My husband Robert Miller tugged at his clothes, looking at my face with pure happiness. Aren't you keeping any for yourself? Looking at his somewhat washed out suit, I felt a bit complicated. What do I, a grown man, need a paycheck for? I'm out there working hard, isn't it all for you and Son? My husband's face was full of willing dedication to this family. I'm working late tonight. I wish I could work even harder. Sarah is too tired. Watching Robert Miller's retreating back as he left with his briefcase, everyone would praise him, saying he was a man completely devoted to his family. But who could have imagined that such an honest man would be freely sharing his cheating tips in the Cheating Club? Women are all devoted to the family. As soon as they have a child, they have a weak spot. Just make a deal with the kid, and she won't have any energy left to deal with you. As long as you pretend to be completely devoted to the family, she'll never suspect you. Remember, make sure to doctor the statements for every paycheck/bank account, doctoring the statements. The men in the group exclaimed, "Impressive, Rob. Still haven't been cog. HT after all these years of cheating. I remember Rob got married 10 years ago, right? Members in the group have come and gone, but only the chairman and Rob have stood the test of time." Messages kept flashing on the secondary messaging account/burner phone he hadn't logged out of in time. I couldn't help but freeze on the spot. It all felt like a joke. My perfect husband had been cheating on me. The messaging window on the screen quickly force quit. The sound of keys turning quickly came from the door. I walked out of the kitchen as if nothing were wrong. Seeing the dim screen, Robert Miller let out a sigh of relief. "What is it?" I asked, smiling at Robert Miller, my heart filled with mixed emotions. "Nothing, I left my phone and computer at home. I was afraid you couldn't reach me." "Sarah, did you see any messages?" Robert Miller glanced at me tentatively, his eyes showing concern for work. "This deal is very important. Didn't you want a new bracelet? Once I close this deal, I'll buy it for you." I knew what answer he wanted. "Your computer screen was off the whole time, and I didn't hear anything." Robert Miller immediately relaxed and kissed my forehead. "In a few days, for our wedding anniversary, let's drop Son off at Sarah's parents' place and go out for a nice time, just the two of us." Saying that, he turned to leave. "Honey, wait." I called out to him, a sarcastic smile flashing in my eyes. "I remember, you weren't wearing the suit when you left today." Robert Miller froze, his eyes filled with panic as he looked at me. "Damn it, I forgot to change clothes in my rush to get back. The client I met today was important. For the company, my boss lent me his suit." I smiled and nodded, straightening his tie for him. "You must be tired. Try to get home early." Robert Miller pretended to be calm and nodded. If you looked closely, his departing figure was slightly stiff. I sighed. The perfume on his suit was all too familiar. Only a luxury brand sales associate would use perfume like that. He didn't even notice the earrings still hanging on his tie. He'd played the role of the loving husband for so long, he'd even convinced himself. After a long time, I opened my messaging app and, remembering the details, added the account I hadn't logged into for years. The message history from that group poured in like a flood. I scrolled through the messages one by one, smiling as I sent a greeting. "Everyone, long time no see. Oh my God! It's the chairman! The chairman has appeared." A hint of darkness flashed in my eyes. After being a housewife for so long, I'd almost forgotten my true identity. After all, I was a genuine succubus. The cheating club was something I founded back when I was a succubus playing games in the human world. But later, I met Robert Miller. I was attracted by his honesty back then, or perhaps I was tired of being a succubus and wanted to try being human. Once a succubus fell in love and gave birth to a child, as a consequence, for a human, she was cursed and lost succubus abilities. A succubus who had given birth to a child, as a consequence, couldn't use any wealth or power she had acquired as a succubus. Unless they were willing to go back to my old ways. Only by successfully making a man willingly betray his current lover could they break the curse. And now, aged and losing my looks, I couldn't possibly use my appearance to win Robert Miller's heart back. What's more, I had chosen to have a child for him. Mom, why are you still dragging your feet? Tom Miller looked at me, his eyes showing a touch of impatient and annoyed. Child. If Dad hadn't given him a task and promised to buy him a toy train, he wouldn't want to be with Mom at all. Mom doesn't dress up and doesn't have anything to talk about with her. We're not going to preschool today. I looked at Tom Miller in front of me, feeling deeply disappointed. Hearing he didn't have to go to preschool. Tom Miller's eyes lit up with a hint of cheer. But then he remembered the task Dad had given him, and a flicker of disappointment crossed his eyes. Today Dad was preparing for a date with Auntie Jessica. Dad had also told him specifically to keep Mom busy after school from preschool. I saw the struggle in Tom Miller's eyes. After all, in the message history I'd seen, Robert Miller had shared examples of using Tom Miller to keep Mom busy after school more than once in the group. Mom has something planned with Auntie Samantha tonight. How about you go play at Robert's mother's place? Tom Miller hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Anyway, Mom had something to do too, so he wouldn't disturb Dad. Besides, he really didn't want to go to preschool, and this way he'd still complete Dad's task. After sending Tom Miller off, I found the manager for the human world of the succubus tribe, my sister Samantha. You're saying you want to be a succubus again? Take back everything you had? Sarah? Are you out of your mind? You were crazy about becoming human back then, and now you want to be a succubus again? It's not that easy. I gave a bitter laugh and handed her the messages on his phone. Humans are really not good creatures. Samantha's eyes flashed with anger. Compared to humans, succubus were more straightforward. She couldn't understand how her sister had suddenly become so blinded by love. Marriage, for both humans and succubus, once you make a mistake in it, is ruin. I can help you, but according to the succubus tribe's agreement, I can only change appearance/shapeshift for you, and it definitely won't look better than you do now. Okay. I nodded. I knew she had already done everything she could to help me this much. Are you sure? Are you certain this appearance can make him change his mind? Seduce him away from another woman? I can only change appearance/shapeshift for you once. After a moment's hesitation, Samantha looked at me with a hint of complexity in her eyes. This appearance, unless someone was truly desperate, a normal man would likely find it hard to stomach. I'm sure. A determined smile flashed in my eyes. I found the owner of the earring, Jessica Taylor. She was very pretty and was the top salesperson at the C brand luxury store. In the cheating club, she had become Robert Miller's trophy in the group. The moment she saw me, she recognized my identity. Hello, I'm here to return something. I smiled and nodded at her, but the moment I opened the box, her professional smile froze on her face. Inside the box was the earring I had taken from Robert Miller's tie. You know everything? Jessica Taylor looked at me, a sharp glint in her eyes. Soon, a hint of a smile returned to her eyes. If it weren't for me, you would never have known. You should thank me for letting you know your honest husband was cheating. Women should still love themselves. Survival of the fittest, you're out. Mrs. Miller, as a fellow woman, I'm giving you a chance to leave gracefully. Jessica Taylor looked down on me, her eyes full of youthful vibrancy. You like other people's things so much. Sarah, I'm 10 years younger than you. I have impressive assets. My value is much higher than yours. You know a woman's looks devalue with age. Did you know? Your husband isn't just an ordinary employee. He's the general manager. You're not worth him investing in, a person/relationship. If you were sensible, you'd step aside early. Is that so? I looked at the young Jessica Taylor. Her appearance wouldn't even be considered low-level succubus in the succubus tribe. Getting human love purely based on looks is the method of low-level succubus. Ms. Taylor, what makes you so sure? Mrs. Miller, I'm 10 years younger than you. That's my asset. I looked at her, a hint of mockery flashing in my eyes. According to the succubus tribe's agreement, to regain my identity, I had to win back my cheatin' husband, which meant make him betray Jessica. No wonder you believe a man like that. Looking at her, I saw my 10 years younger self. You're being too naive. 10 years. The years, changing things, changed too much. Not just me, but Robert Miller too. I smiled and looked at the figure behind her. Honey, what a coincidence. Sarah, weren't you with Tom for the parent-child activity? What are you doing here? Robert Miller's eyes showed a hint of awkwardness. Didn't I tell you last time I wanted to get a new bag/handbag? Today, I specifically came to look. This bag/handbag has been with me for so many years, it's time for a change. Do you have any recommendations? I looked at Jessica Taylor standing nearby, a slight smile in my eyes. Madam, you've really come at the perfect time today. Perfectly, we just got a new bag/handbag designed by a famous overseas designer. Both the inside and outside are top-notch. Madam, this bag/handbag of yours must be from 10 years ago. It's old and worn, probably completely falling apart inside. Jessica Taylor looked at me pointedly. A hint of sarcasm flashed in my eyes. Looking at Robert Miller, she was right, wasn't she? As Jessica Taylor passed by Robert Miller with the bag/handbag, she deliberately brushed against him. Robert Miller stiffened all over. Yet I didn't seem to notice anything. Oh. However, I actually prefer older styles. I said, smiling, looking at the one on the shelf. After all, the newer these luxury items are, the faster they go out of style and devalue. Classic styles might be old, but their value is eternal. Jessica Taylor gritted her teeth. Sir, what do you think? Looking at the price on the shelf, which was several times higher, Robert Miller quickly made up his mind. Sarah, I think this new style is good. The old one is outdated. You should change things up. Anyway, once I have money later, you can change it any time you want. Then, Ms. Taylor, please WR. AP it up for me. I smoothed my hair and looked at Jessica Taylor with a smile. Jessica Taylor's eyes showed a hint of jealousy. This bag/handbag wasn't cheap. This damned old woman, once Robert gets divorced, all of this will be hers anyway. In the passenger seat, looking at the adjusted mirror and the lipstick case on the floor, I frowned. As if he sensed something was off about me, a flicker of darkness crossed Robert Miller's eyes. He was facing a promotion recently. If news of his cheating and divorce got out now, his position from deputy general manager to vice president would be in jeopardy. Jessica was too impatient. This bag/handbag isn't cheap. It's worth several months of our family's living expenses. You just bought it like that? I suddenly looked at him with a half-smile. Sarah, it's all worth it. You've put so much into this family. It's just a bag/handbag. Even if it were the stars in the sky, I'd work hard to pick them for you. Robert Miller said with a hint of pain in his eyes. In the future, there'll be more and more like this. You deserve the best. These past few days, I've neglected you. Robert Miller continued whispering sweet nothings to himself, and a hint of sarcasm flashed in my eyes. Anyone would say that at this moment, Robert Miller was a perfect husband. It turns out the most captivating thing isn't a beautiful appearance, but the deadly sweet trap a man weaves for you. The next day, I went to the bank. As expected, after checking all the numbers, there was another sum of money missing from my savings account/CD. Exactly the price of the bag/handbag from yesterday. Using a woman's own money to make her feel grateful was also a clever strategy he'd shared in the cheating club. A cold glint flashed in my eyes. To avoid tipping him off, I took the bag/handbag to a pawn shop. Madam, this bag/handbag of yours is fake. We can't pawn it. The manager of the pawn shop said cautiously. This marriage was already shat. Red, and now all that was left was mutual deception. Meanwhile, on the other side, Jessica Taylor was holding the new bag/handbag, unable to put it down. Don't be mad, honey. You know I'm in a career climbing period right now. You're the only one in my heart. That old hag at home can't compare to you at all. In the end, isn't all my love and money yours anyway? Young girls are a bit harder to appease. But as long as you make her believe you're spending all your money on her, she's just as easy to get. In the evening, I helped Robert Miller share his cheating tips in the cheating club, answering questions from the group members for him. How could I not know what he was thinking? Only the chairman, always hitting the nail on the head. The chairman is the most amazing one, right? I thought she had retired. I heard that all of the chairman's former lovers have become successful, right? The group immediately became lively again. Robert Miller had been the big shot in the group for so many years, he probably forgot. The original legend wasn't him at all. I smiled and turned off the phone screen. Looking at the friend requests that came via private message, I knew the fish had taken the bait. I asked Samantha for an appearance that wasn't beautiful. Samantha was very worried. According to the rules, she could only help me this one time. I patted her hand. Don't worry, it will definitely work. But I knew clearly that after 10 years, the woman Robert Miller wanted most wasn't a beautiful one. Men at this age wouldn't be blinded by beauty anymore. On the contrary, they were very clear-headed. They knew exactly what they wanted most. Robert Miller had a virtuous wife to take care of the family and a beautiful mistress to keep him entertained. What he wanted most now was a woman who could help him climb the ladder. And the chairman happened to fill that void. Samantha looked at me worriedly. You have no money and no looks now, how can you fight to get back your identity? Looking at Jessica Taylor holding Tom Miller's hand in the distance, she couldn't help but frown. When he saw Samantha, Robert Miller paused. The succubus tribe was very beautiful. Robert Miller had once had thoughts about Samantha too. Unfortunately, Robert Miller was not Samantha's type at all. Trust me, he'll come over. I smiled and took off my sunglasses, revealing a pair of eyes with fine lines and a slightly sagging face. Robert Miller's eyes, initially directed at me, held contempt. But as he scrutinized me, his expression grew more and more serious. Until he saw my wrist, his face drastically changed. I knew he recognized it. After all, he had just seen this limited edition bracelet on my wrist in the chairman's moments yesterday. Auntie Samantha, where's my mom? Seeing Samantha, Tom Miller became a bit unhappy. Quickly tell her to come home. The house has been a mess these past few days. Seriously, she's a grown woman. Why is she running around instead of staying home? She even made me late for preschool today. Tom Miller naturally treated me like a nanny. Unfortunately, I was tired of being a good wife and mother. Samantha's face visibly grew cold. She swore she would never marry a human in this lifetime. Even the inherent depravity of young ones was ingrained in them. Tom, that's not polite. Robert Miller noticed my presence and gently pulled Tom Miller behind him. Jessica, take Tom to play for a bit. If I hadn't seen Tom, I really wouldn't have known where this happy family of 3 came from. Samantha snorted coldly. Sarah, you've misunderstood. This is just one of my clients. Sarah knows her too. She bought her bag/handbag from Ms. Taylor last time. Then, Robert Miller's gaze fell upon me. And this is? Samantha's face hardened, but she held back. This is a friend of mine. She knows my sister too. I smiled and looked at him, my eyes twinkling with amusement. Mr. Miller, I've heard a lot about you. I didn't expect we'd meet so soon. I'm a friend of Sarah. But Sarah seemed to have some urgent matter and went back to Sarah's parents' place. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ms. Sterling. I've been doing business overseas for the past few years. I looked at Robert Miller, a subtle smile playing in my eyes. Robert Miller only then noticed he hadn't replied to Sarah's message. He saw that Sarah had said she had an urgent matter back home and had taken Tom Miller to Robert's mother's place. His Adam's apple bobbed. He subtly scrutinized me, his eyes filled with immense excitement. He remembered perfectly that the chairman's messaging app ID was 2 letters, ML. Wasn't that the abbreviation for Ms. Sterling? Ms. Sterling, hello. He smiled and extended his hand. I deliberately offered the hand wearing the bracelet. The moment he saw the bracelet, a look of determination to possess it flashed in his eyes. I couldn't help but let out a sarcastic laugh. Miss Sterling, this bracelet of yours is limited edition, right? I saw it in a fashion magazine before. Fashion magazine? Jessica Taylor just kept talking about it. A piece of jewelry worth a house just worn so casually. He noticed that her clothes didn't have any brand names, but the fabric clearly showed their high price. Truly wealthy people never wore obvious brands. This woman in front of him was the one truly hiding her wealth. She was the woman most suitable for him. Over the years, he had come to understand that the best woman was one who could help him climb the social ladder and cross class boundaries. I'll have Jessica take Tom Miller back. It's all my fault for not seeing the message. You're Sarah's good friend, so you're naturally an honored guest in our home. I'm her husband, so it's only right that I show you hospitality. I nodded and walked into a restaurant with Robert Miller. Samantha looked at me, a hint of worry in her eyes. Sarah, this restaurant is very expensive. According to the rules, I can't pay for you. All your money went into that outfit, especially that limited edition bracelet. One day's rental is more than your yearly savings. I have to take it back. It'll be overdue soon. Don't blow your cover when it's time to pay. I smiled and quietly handed her the bracelet. Thanks, go return it for me. I quietly went to the restroom and sent a message to Robert Miller using another phone. Honey, something came up at Sarah's parents' place. I won't be back for a while. Please make sure you and Samantha entertain Miss Sterling well. She's my best friend. She just broke up with her young man recently and is feeling down. Ask Samantha to take her around Bay City. Don't worry, Sarah. Your friends are my friends. I'll make sure she's well taken care of. Robert Miller's face was full of smiles. He knew the group leader in the club wasn't someone easy to fool, and I was the best reason for him to get close to Miss Sterling. When I came out, Samantha had already found an excuse to leave at my signal. Miss Samantha had something urgent to take care of and gave this to me. Robert Miller smilingly handed over 2 theater tickets. I nodded and specifically raised the red wine on the table to him in a toast. This red wine is supposedly the 85 Bordeaux from Toto Bordeaux. I love the aroma when you taste it. You should try it too. As expected, when the bill came, Robert Miller was stunned by the high number. The bottle of wine I ordered was the most expensive here. As it got closer to paying the bill, he started to hesitate and wait. However, the moment he saw my wrist, he froze. Miss Sterling, where's your bracelet? When I went to the restroom, I saw a little girl by the door crying hard. She really liked this, so I took it off to make her happy. I said with a carefree smile. Something's come up suddenly. Wait here while I take a call. Robert Miller's face suddenly changed, and he quickly found an excuse to leave. But he was gone for half an hour. Madam, here is the bill. Will that be cash or pay by card? The waiter came forward timidly with the bill. Their restaurant catered to high-end clientele and only allowed dining for 2 hours. Just then, Robert Miller happened to walk in. At this moment, my bank card only had $8.90 left after buying groceries. Robert Miller stared at me, waiting for my next move. His eyes were filled with suspicion and scrutiny. When Robert Miller came back with my card, the look in his eyes was unclear. I looked at him, my eyes sparkling with a smile. How could I let you pay? I said, this is my treat. I took back the bank card with $8.90. As I expected, he never intended to let anyone swipe my card. He had just found the little girl I mentioned. When he took out $1,000 wanting to trade for the bracelet, the little girl's mother refused him. Aren't you ashamed? A grown man trying to snatch something from our Lily. This bracelet is clearly mine. Go on, we're not selling it for any amount of money. That middle-aged woman was as shrewd as a monkey. If someone was willing to trade $1,000 for it, it could only mean the thing was worth much more than $1,000. She wouldn't trade it then. There are too many people in this world who think they're clever. I smiled, enjoying the video Samantha sent. Sarah, how did you know he would go confront the girl? Luckily you prepared 2 chains. But how did you know Robert Miller wouldn't realize the one the girl had was fake? How could I not know? In the cheating club's message history, someone had once asked Robert Miller how to climb the social ladder. The first thing Robert Miller told him was, never let the other person feel like you're cheap. I have to say, Robert Miller was indeed a good mentor. So, I dared to gamble. Gamble that he was just testing me, and when I calmly presented the empty card with no funds, he wouldn't SW. I bit. Gamble that he wouldn't dare go back and demand the bracelet. You have to learn, long line, catch big fish. This was one of Robert Miller's cheating tips in the cheating club. Unfortunately, Robert Miller was just a master of theory. This play was indeed exciting, but throughout the process, Robert Miller seemed somewhat distracted. After all, compared to a busy housewife, a young girl was much harder to deal with. Let me drive you back. I didn't refuse, smiling as I got into the car. Miss Sterling, I heard from Sarah that you broke up with your boyfriend? He's just a young man, didn't know any better. He didn't appreciate a glamorous, career-driven woman like you. I heard from Sarah that you've been doing business overseas all these years. Coincidentally, I'm also in the pharmaceutical company. Everything he said was full of hints. He even unbuttoned his shirt a few buttons, exposing his Adam's apple. If I had sex with him at this moment, I could regain my succubus identity. Facing his advances, I pushed him away. I'm not looking for business partners. I looked at him with a half smile and covered his mouth. If everything you're doing, Mr. Miller, is just to find a different place to talk business, then it's rather boring. I hope we can have a more enjoyable conversation next time. I opened the car door and turned to get into the black Porsche across the street. Sarah, you're just leaving like this? You were so close. You could have successfully regained your succubus identity. Samantha, sitting in the car, looked at me with deep confusion in her eyes. Of course not. A hint of darkness flashed in my eyes. Letting him off like this would be too easy. Wait a little longer. I had to collect the interest on these years. I got home before Robert Miller. As expected, after I left, Robert Miller went straight to Jessica Taylor's place. I pretended to be in a panic and called Robert Miller. Honey, what's going on? Ms. Street. Erling just contacted me and said she's going back overseas in a couple of days. I gave her the house keys. Are you home? There's a box of pastries / a box of cookies on the table. Remember to give it to her. I have something to do here. Please do this for me. After hanging up the phone, Robert Miller got out of bed. Jessica Taylor, who was nearby, wanted him to stay. Aren't you staying tonight? She had just seen the caller ID. That damned old woman. No, I have something to do. Saying that, Robert Miller quickly threw on his clothes. Jessica Taylor's eyes flashed with strong unwillingness. She had underestimated this woman. The sound of keys turning quickly sounded. I knew he would definitely come back. The moment the door opened, Robert Miller's eyes widened. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The woman in front of him was lying in his and Sarah's bed, and on the very pillow he had slept on. He saw her sniffing the scent on the pillow, looking content. So that's it. No wonder she was unhappy. He blamed himself for being too hasty. At this moment, using Miss Sterling's appearance, I turned and accidentally met Robert Miller's eyes. Sarah and I are good friends. We've shared everything with each other since we were kids. I know. I said Sarah's friends are my friends. I belong to Sarah. You can share me with her too. I suppressed my nausea and completed the ritual. After the ritual, I regained my succubus identity. Looking at the man on the bed, who was like a dead pig, a look of mockery flashed in my eyes. I returned to Sarah's appearance. In the morning, I woke him up. Honey, where's Miss Sterling? Looking at the empty space beside him, a flicker of annoyance crossed Robert Miller's eyes. Yesterday, he felt as if lead had been poured into his body. When he woke up, he felt completely drained. Ignoring my gasp, Robert Miller irritably picked up his phone. Seeing the message I sent him using Miss Sterling's identity, he immediately got rest. I'm going out for a bit. Watching his retreating back, a smile played in my eyes. However, as soon as Robert Miller left, Jessica Taylor showed up at the door. You did this, didn't you? Mrs. Miller, I don't know what methods you used to get Robert to come to your place last night, but I have to admit, I underestimated you. But let me tell you, you can't hold on to him. I frowned. Who said I wanted to can't hold on to him? Don't worry, I don't have a hobby of picking up someone else's leftovers. However, Jessica Taylor didn't listen at all. You pitiful housewives, you can only fight for a little bit of dignity in the end. If you can't keep a man, just admit it. Why make such a mess? After all, you're devalued, of woman, now. She twirled her hair, looking at me seductively. He loves the one with more value, and you aren't worthy. Looking at her youthful self, I seemed to see the fearless young succubus from 10 years ago. You're wrong. He doesn't love you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come here to make such a mess. As if her sore spot had been hit, Jessica Taylor became somewhat annoyed. You're lying. He loves me. He promised to come home with me to meet my family this weekend. Want to make a bet? I bet he won't go home with you. Okay, I'll bet you. If I lose, I'll willingly withdraw, completely disappear from both your lives. I smiled, composed a message on my phone, and contacted Robert Miller, who was rushing to the airport to intercept someone. I told him I was just signing a contract and invited him to see the ocean over the weekend. All right, you can call now. Jessica Taylor looked at me with doubt in her eyes, then dialed the number. Hello? Honey, my parents booked a restaurant this weekend. Our two families can. Honey, I have a deal this weekend. But we agreed. Jessica Taylor's voice held a hint of hysteria. Honey, you know I'm doing all this for our future. Be good, don't make such a mess. Eyeing that, he quickly hung up the phone. A bet's a bet? Jessica Taylor's eyes showed a hint of defeat. She stumbled towards the door. However, she collapsed right at the doorway. Fortunately, after regaining my succubus identity, my reactions were much faster than before. I quickly sent her to the hospital. Looking at her on the hospital bed, her eyes open, I couldn't help but sigh. You're pregnant. My gaze held a hint of complexity. Take care. Saying that, I turned and left. Just a pitiful woman repeating my mistake. The moment I regained my succubus identity, the pact could no longer restrain me. That is to say, I could use the wealth tied to my succubus identity. When I saw Robert Miller again, his eyes once again showed astonishment. At this moment, the luxury goods I was wearing were truly mine. Miss Sterling, you have more clout than I imagined. Last time, those few deals I mentioned, would you consider? I smiled and waved at him. That's just small-time stuff. What's that? With money, it was effortless to design a few empty ventures for Robert Miller. Soon, he fell right into my trap. Every time he invested, I would use my own money to give him triple the return. However, when he wanted to invest for the third time, I shook my head. Mr. Miller, it's not that I don't care about you. It's difficult for me too. You know my operations deals start at 10 million. I had calculated his savings. Over these years, it was exactly 10 million. For the next deal, your minimum entry will have to be 10 million. The trend/the opportunity is right now. If you miss this, you'll miss out on the big profit. As expected, he got anxious. I deliberately gave him some time to consider. Unfortunately, he was still far short of the money needed. After all, the day before, using Sarah's identity, I had asked him for a divorce. Jessica's baby became the proof of his cheating. To quickly clear his name and embrace a new life, he paid me off. or this, he could only go find Jessica Taylor, tried in vain to make up for it from her. Jessica, I'm doing this all for you. Once I close this deal, we'll get married right away. See, I divorced Sarah, it was all for you. Don't worry, Jessica. Once this money comes in, we'll get married. Jessica Taylor looked at him uncertainly. Just a while ago, Robert Miller had insisted he wouldn't divorce. She believed him again. Robert, you must remember to pay me back. Don't worry, Jessica. Just 1 week. Jessica Taylor repeatedly stressed this was the final payment for the store manager's purchases. 1 week, she could still transfer it. She was pregnant and had to gamble. To be honest, when she saw Sarah divorce so freely, she started to have doubts. Was this really the happiness she wanted? Was Robert Miller truly worth entrusting her whole life to? Soon, she had her answer. When Robert Miller's phone couldn't be reached, she panicked for the first time. It wasn't just Jessica Taylor, Robert Miller was also panicking in his heart. Miss Sterling had told him the return on this round was higher, but he'd have to wait a few more days. But now, Miss Sterling was nowhere to be found. Looking at the extra balance on the card, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. The identity of Miss Sterling was originally something I had fabricated. Jessica Taylor found Robert Miller. Robert, you promised me 1 week. If I can't replace this money, I'll go to prison. Get out! Robert Miller didn't want to be involved with Jessica Taylor. More and more eyes at the company were on him. This was bad for him. Annoyed, he shoved Jessica Taylor to the ground. Soon, screams from the crowd rang out. Under Jessica Taylor, a large pool of blood was spreading. Robert Miller, that was your baby. It was a matter of life and death. Everyone quickly rushed Jessica Taylor to the hospital. Unfortunately, the baby couldn't be saved. Robert Miller's job wasn't saved either. Did you see? Here to laugh at me? Jessica Taylor looked at me, her eyes showing a hint of despair. It was over. Her life was over. I looked at her calmly and threw a big bag of cash onto her bed. You're right, you're still young. I looked at her, a smile flashing in my eyes. You don't hate me? What would I hate you for? Then, I gave her the message history from the cheating club. This. Jessica Taylor looked at the group history in disbelief. She hadn't expected that Robert Miller, who seemed so affectionate, would be. Our enemies should be these shameless men. As the top salesperson at the C-brand luxury store, Jessica Taylor was well connected. Many of the men in the cheating club were rags to riches guys who married into money, or pretty boys kept by rich women, wanting to have their cake and eat it too. And Jessica Taylor's job just happened to give her access to these men. After regaining my succubus identity, I returned to the succubus tribe. With people from the succubus family protecting Jessica Taylor, no one dared touch her. They naturally vented their anger on Robert Miller. Soon, I saw Robert Miller living on the streets. Sarah? The moment he saw me, he rubbed his eyes in disbelief. How are you? You're the same as 10 years ago. You're even more beautiful. Your face. Then he saw the 5 million bracelet on my hand. After regaining my identity, I went and bought it. I quite liked its style. Is it you? What's your relationship with Miss Sterling? Guess? I looked at him with a half smile. Feeling this familiar aura, he looked at me in disbelief. You are Miss Sterling? Congratulations, you guessed correctly, but there's no prize. Sarah, I was wrong. For son's sake, please forgive me. Robert Miller frantically knelt on the ground, begging for my forgiveness. He was in a terrible state. Because of him, some of those men lost their wealth, some lost their status. They vented their hatred on him, severely retaliating against the powerless Robert Miller. Now he had his hands and feet broken and was begging for money all day. However, it was too late. Don't forget, we have no connection. Don't worry, Tom Miller has already been sent to special placement for a child. Fortunately, he hasn't turned out too bad, he can still be helped/raised. Your current state isn't suitable for raising a child. Don't even think about it. Robert Miller gritted his teeth, then suddenly pulled out a knife from his ragged, foul-smelling sleeve. Bitch, go to hell. However, he didn't know I'm not human. A succubus is also a demon. I looked at him, a strange smile appearing in my eyes. As I walked away, my heels clicking, only Robert Miller, terrified and gone completely mad, was left in the alley. I smiled and took out my phone. Messages kept flashing inside. They were all from a group called the Revenge Club. And inside were all women who've been cheated on. Jessica Taylor inside was sharing the signs of a cheating man for the women. I thought a new game had begun.